Robbie Lawler was out of control.
This is Double Cross, the murder of Robbie Lawler.
It was going to be an all-out war with him in the middle of it.
A Crime World special investigation podcast based on my new book, Web of Betrayal, wherever you get your podcasts.
So we got the news today that a man who was arrested in over the murder of Kyran Durnin has been found dead in his home in Drogheda in County Louth.
Yes, so the man has been named locally as Anthony Maguire. He's in his mid-30s. He was found dead in his home in Drogheda, County Louth today. Obviously, there's going to be a coroner's report. There's going to be an autopsy carried out. Gardaí are officially saying that, you know, the finding of the coroner's report will determine their investigation. But off the record, we've been told that it's not believed that his death was suspicious and that there was no foul play involved.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously this man, Anthony Maguire, had been arrested in was it Thursday?
Yes.
And he'd been held for questioning before being released on Friday. Now, we don't know exactly obviously what was said or what was put to him, but one of the reasons Anthony Maguire was arrested was because of this what's been called the decoy child that was brought to meetings to discuss Kyran Durnin.
Yeah, so I suppose to go back to 2022, that was the last official sighting that guards can make of Kyran. So he'd been in contact with Tusla before, Kyran and his family. He wasn't in state care or anything like that. But essentially between 2022 and 2024, Tusla have no record of the school making any kind of report on Kyran or anything like that. But then in early 2024, Tusla became involved again. And in August 2024, there was a missing person report filed on Kyran. And then in the same month, there was a red flag raised by Tusla. And now we believe that this is related to the fact that a different child was presented to social workers during interviews.
And it's believed, of course, that Anthony Maguire was present at those interviews and that at least the guards wanted to question him about whether he had arranged for this decoy child to come along. Now, obviously, a young child who was 6 at the time, has now been missing for 2 years. The guards, people will be aware of the sort of background, but the guards made it clear that they believe the child has been murdered.
Yeah.
And what's sprung from this has been 2 arrests and a number of searches.
Yeah.
A woman who is believed was known to Anthony Maguire has also been arrested and subsequently released without charge.
Yes, so the woman was arrested at the start of last week. Gardaí became aware that she was travelling back to Ireland on a ferry. They arrested her, they put certain information to her, and then she was since released without charge. And then a couple of days later, this man now, Anthony Maguire, was arrested. So he was questioned about the role of the decoy child, as we just said. He was released without charge. We believe that during the interviews, nothing really there was no massive insight from Anthony Maguire about what happened to Kyran. Apparently he stayed quiet during a lot of the interview. At the same time of his arrest, there was 2 searches carried out in Drogheda. One was a property linked to Anthony Maguire. Gardaí did a massive search, particularly on the back garden of his home, and they didn't find anything. And then he was released without charge. And then obviously we have
so
today.
we don't get into the specifics of how he died, but people will understand when I say they're not looking for any third party.
No.
It's been treated as a tragic incident. There's every reason to suspect that he certainly had an emotional reaction to being arrested, whether that's guilt and remorse. We don't fully know because, of course, we don't know what happened. I mean, that is still the reality of Kyran Durnin's body has not been found.
No.
We don't know how he met his end, but the guards have been really clear that they believe he has been murdered or at least died as a result of a violent accident.
Yeah, I suppose this case has raised more questions than it's answered, and it's because of the confusion around the timeline. He was reported missing in August 2024, but it quickly became apparent that there actually hadn't been any official sighting of Kyran for over 2 years. So May 2022, when he was last seen in school, apparently the school was told that he was going to attend another school, and there was also different reports that he was in hospital with COVID. There's all these kind of rumours and reports going around. So I guess we don't know what happened to Kyran. We don't know where he is. I suppose Drew Harris has said this week that they are working on the theory that he may have died in May 2022 because, as you said, like a 6-year-old child, they're vulnerable. They can't really fend for themselves. And because that's the last known sighting of him, that's led Gardaí to upgrade to a murder investigation, which they did in October. And they're following loads of different lines of inquiries. Obviously, we had the arrest of the woman. And we had the arrest of Anthony Maguire, but there's also expected to be more arrests. We've reported before how Gardaí believe that, there are people who may not have been directly involved in what happened to Kyran, but know, more information than they're letting on, and that there has been lies told in this case, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can say with Anthony Maguire that he didn't give a full accounting. And he must have known something. This child, if he's brought a decoy child, he must have had some background information on what has happened. We don't know too much about Anthony Maguire. We know that he has come to the attention of Gardaí. He's been before the courts on, I suppose, relatively minor drink-related trouble. Let's put it that way. But he's not some sort of particularly notorious gangland criminal or anything like that. He's a 36-year-old man at this stage, and he has been before the courts, I think, one incident in a hospital where a window was smashed. But he is, what happened to Kyran is still is still unknown. There have been searches, obviously, of property that was associated with Anthony Maguire and dogs brought in, but nothing of evidential value was found.
No, there was cadaver dogs brought in, which we obviously know are used to detect human remains. And there was a massive, as I said, search of his garden. There was a lot of digging up and nothing was found. Previously in October, there were searches of a house in Dundalk, which is one of the houses that Kyran is last believed to have been staying in. Obviously, people there had nothing to do with it, but, that was how Gardaí were tracing back, his most recent, any kind of information they had on Kyran, I suppose. So there has been various different searches, and as far as we're aware, nothing of evidential value has been found. But this is a very fast-moving case. There's a lot of different elements to it, and there's a lot of different lines of inquiry from what we believe as well.
Yeah, I mean, the role of the state in protecting that the child is still going to have to be called into question. As you said, there's reports are due to be furnished, and the guards are obviously came in at this at a late stage and have continuing to collect all that information. But the role of TUSLA certainly must come under scrutiny. They have made some reports, but the fact is a child slipped between the cracks of the system.
Yeah, and it's kind of, we all feel a bit responsible, I think, just that in this modern day society, a child like that can just disappear without a trace. We were up in Dundalk in the weeks after the announcement of the murder investigation, and locals, who had known Kyran and his family were devastated. And, people do ask, how can this happen? But I guess, there is a lot of questions to answer there. And TUSLA have filed a report to both the Children's Minister and the Minister for Education on different interactions with Kyran. They have previously said that, they hadn't had any referrals of concern from the school between 2022 and 2024. There was different reports that, maybe Kyran was due to attend the school across the border. But, you do have to ask, and he obviously wasn't in state care either. So I have heard child experts in child protection talking about how sometimes this is how this grey area can result in people slipping through the cracks. But I guess that doesn't mean it's okay. And, we do have to call into a question a system where this happens in 2024, and hopefully that this will result in an inquiry that can sure this doesn't never happen again. Essentially,
no, it simply can't happen. You can't have a 6-year-old child go missing and nobody takes responsibility for having noticed that. I mean, the Garda investigation now is going to be looking at all the statements of everybody involved and trying to trace it back. But obviously, Anthony Maguire can no longer be questioned, and his role, we certainly never know from his own mouth what his role was.
No, and it's sources have told the Sunday World that, nothing of great substance was given during his interviews. They obviously found nothing during the searches. We don't know what happened today. As you said, is there a guilty conscience? Is there pressure externally, or is it causing, is it creating pressure on him for different reasons? But I guess we won't ever get answers in relation to his involvement, or what he knows about what happened to Kyran. So I guess this investigation is going to continue, but you do hope that today's development doesn't impact justice for Kyran and finding out what actually happened to him, because at the end of the day, this is a vulnerable child, and we just want answers and to get,
because you need answers
Yeah.
in order to make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Essentially.
And Anthony Maguire cannot be questioned, and probably CCTV of what occurred can never be found now. But it's certainly a story we're going to keep coming back to, and we'll try and get an update again over the next few days.
Yes, definitely.
So thanks, Eimear.
Thanks, Niall.
I'm Nicola Tallant, and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.